Hi, and welcome to Dell Technologies Medium Business Tech Talk series. Dell Technologies help medium-sized businesses lay the foundation on which to build their digital organization. Through the support of Dell Technologies, medium-sized companies can ensure they are managing security, unlocking innovation, and modernizing their success with finance they can control. Here to tell us more is Sabine Diedering, Regional Sales Director for Dell Technologies South Africa. Sabine, welcome to our first episode.
Hey, I'm delighted to be here.
Let's get straight into it. This is undoubtedly an era of disruption. However, it can be a time during which medium organizations can accelerate their digital transformation journey. What can medium businesses do to emerge stronger from the challenging business environment they are currently facing?
Thank you very much, Claire. Yes, you summed it up very nicely that medium businesses also facing a tough time, but they're almost better geared than the bigger organizations to pivot into their business to new ways of interacting with their customers. So we've used this example before. We've seen in the last couple of months how some of the big retailers failed to catch this opportunity to engage with new customers, where a lot of the small and upcoming startup companies really catered for my needs as a consumer, for example, and use technology to deliver a service to me that's differentiated. So, which also speaks to many of our other medium business customers, that they are redefining their business based on what is their product or service that's differentiating them in the market, which they then can bring to the market through digital technology in a way that hasn't been done before. And if you look at any of these businesses, they are not coming with the burden of the legacy systems that many of the big companies have, and they can almost redefine their business from the scratch up much faster than a bank could or a big retailer can. They have to work within the confines of their legacy systems. I'm not saying that they're not doing this, they will definitely do that, but the medium businesses almost have more strength in the agility that they can bring to that market.
The Dell Technologies World Digital Experience took place recently, and a significant announcement was made on how Dell Technologies has expanded its as-a-service capabilities with Project Apex to simplify how customers and partners access Dell technology on demand. I'm aware that South Africa will only see the implementation of Project Apex mid-2021. So what flexible payment options are currently available to medium businesses in South Africa? And why are these flexible payment options crucial for medium business?
Claire, it is obviously important for medium business customers to protect their cash flow. So we offer an option, for example, to pay in 6 months or 12 months, or to pay over an extended period of time. So whether it's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. We also work with many medium business customers that have cash flow certain times of the year. For example, they only get cash flow during the summer month. So then we can tailor it to their needs to only pay for the technology during the summer month. Where that leads to that flexibility is the Project Apex, which talks to technology on demand, which is not like your traditional cloud, because cloud is, again, a fixed contract where you decide upfront how much technology you consume from a cloud provider. It's more about, many of our customers tell us they don't even know how their business is going to look like in a year from now, never mind in 3 years or 5 years. And here we ask them to make an investment of many million rands into a technology that, yes, we built in growth, and yes, we built in some flexibility, but basically we tell them, buy the building now. And you know what happens with all these buildings right now during Corona, where everybody works from home, they stand empty. So rather give these customers the flexibility to adapt how they consume technology going forward. And that's what we're striving towards, obviously within some frameworks. So having said that, we're already working with many customers who tell us, help me on this journey. Help me, for example, by consuming technology that I can control, but that I also have flexibility over. So it's kind of a third way between on-premise and fork out the millions or going to the cloud. It's somewhat more tailor-made to that specific situation of that customer. So think about it a little bit like going to a restaurant. That's if you put everything in the cloud. And that might work for some customers to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner at a restaurant. But most customers want to have the flexibility to sometimes cook something in their own kitchen. So we would like to work with those medium-sized customers to understand their requirements and also how these things might change over time. So, I mean, anyone that uses technology needs to use it to either make money, save money, or reduce risk. Otherwise, you wouldn't invest in the technology. So that's what we're trying to achieve in the long term with Project Apex.
The speed at which the world is generating data shows no signs of slowing down. As volumes mount and the speed at which we need to access data increases, we need to discuss edge computing. Sabina, can you explain what edge computing is and why it is beneficial to the medium business?
Well, very simply, it's computing at the edge, meaning where the data is generated. So think about any place where a lot of data is generated in a very short period of time. Probably the most prominent example is self-driving cars. You can't have a self-driving car that first sends all the data back to a data center somewhere else, and then the command comes back to brake. By that time, it's too late. But also, an inordinate amount of senseless data would be transmitted, which is not needed for the command. You know, if you just see tree, it doesn't mean anything. So what edge computing does, it takes all this data that's generated at the shop floor, at the manufacturing site, in the shopping mall, and analyzes it at that point and says, okay, everything's in order, everything's fine, everything's cool 95% of the time. So it's done within that confined area. Nothing is sent back to the data center. It's the 5% or 10% of the time when something is not what it's supposed to be, then it's maybe sent back to the data center. Or if it's a security system, for example, a human is looking at a monitor and saying, oh, this definitely looks, something is off, we need to do something. It can be used, for example, for obviously security. It can be used for inventory control. I mean, 80% of the inventory control is just counting what's on the shelf. A system can do that better than a human. But as long as everything is fine, you don't need this data to go anywhere else. You can use it, for example, in a retail environment, where inside the shop, you analyze the data all the time and you say, oh, we're really running out of the green socks. Let's order more green socks. So that command needs to go back to the head office so that they send more green socks the next day. But the command to reduce the price of the yellow pillow cushions, that doesn't have to go back to, because that can be done with the data that you have on the shop floor to get the cash flow going. So these are the kind of things. Yes, eventually that command has to go back to, tell head office that the yellow pillow cushions, pillow covers don't go well. But right now, in that very moment, it's not needed to make a decision on the fly. So think about anything that can happen around, for example, in a casino, where they need to check that all the tables are doing the trades properly. But you don't need to intervene if everything's fine, and you don't need to keep that data. You just have to intervene if something's off. And that's basically when edge computing happens. Like someone said, when you look, for example, at the sky, you try to capture all this data, but 99.99% of that data is meaningless. And we need to throw it away right away because there's no data center in the world that could keep that. The key here is which 99.999% to throw away, and that's what the edge computing does. It filters out that 1% or 5% or 0.001% that's relevant to look at.
Another topic I find interesting and we don't talk about enough is what do medium businesses have access to that they could use in better and smarter ways?
What you just mentioned about the edge computing is also another aspect thereof is the CCTV data. I'd say probably 80, 90, even 95% of our customers already have CCTV in some form or fashion. Very good example of a data generating system where many customers don't do much with it. They keep it in case they have an insurance claim or an old lady's handbag gets stolen. But they are not using it to make money, save money, or reduce risk. And that's exactly what CCTV can do if you pair it with edge computing and some clever algorithm called AI or big data. There's many words you can use for it, but all it does really is to use what the cameras is capturing to make your business more efficient. For example, it can be used to monitor the parking lot so that you have the thermals of the people approaching before they get into the shopping mall. Now, you don't have to have anyone holding that thermometer against your skin. So you can dispatch security and ask the people nicely not to enter. But they could also look at the surroundings of the shopping mall and say, oh, these two cars are behaving suspiciously. Let's dispatch security just in case, so that they can hopefully thwart any issues that they may have. We spoke already about inventory control, looking at the shelves and what inventory you have on the shelves. Obviously, the classic example is theft prevention, but then there is also other examples like controlling the flow through retail with CCTV, and many, many other examples. But the key here is many of our customers already have CCTV data. They probably have an idea that they could use it for some good use, but don't know how and don't know what to do with it. So we can run workshops, and we have experts from Dubai and from EMEA that work with the biggest retailers in the UK, that work with the Port of Rotterdam, for example, and use that CCTV data for some really clever applications. But each application will look different because your business is different and what you want to achieve with it is different. So I love those kind of discussions with the customers because it is always interesting to find out what you can do with this kind of data.
I bet you learn new things as well, don't you? Your customers bring new things and you're just like, wow, interesting.
Some things are similar, like a warehouse and a manufacturing site, they have some similarities, but other things are completely, and you think like, wow, I've never thought about this. And you learn all the time something new, how people make money and what businesses are in business for, actually. And I think that's the most fascinating thing. I'm always curious.
So Sabina, can you give me any local examples?
I have a great example for you, Springboks. So the Springboks are using CCTV to really look at what their players are doing and how they could have a better game next time. And they constantly analyze, both in training as well as when they're on the field, what they do and how they could do better next time. And that's, for me, is the essence of how you could use CCTV data. I mean, if you can become world champion with that, what's not to love?
We'll take what we can get, eh? Yes. Thank you, Sabina. I think the key takeaway from today's discussion is embracing the digital future. It is essential in overcoming the current and future challenges your business will face, from increased competition to attracting new audiences. With the technology currently available, along with flexible payment options, all medium businesses can embrace the opportunity to adopt a digital-first approach and strengthen their offering, creating better service and experience for their customers. I will see you next week for episode 2 of the Dell Technologies Medium Business Tech Talk series, where we will be chatting to Moketse Gabutlwelwe, Systems Engineer for Medium Business and Dell Technologies South Africa, about modern infrastructure, security, and so much more.